Well, hello again, sports fans. Today I am disassembling this head on my Kohler engine that's in my Cub Cadet lawnmower. Um, Sorry I didn't start at the very first and show you taking the covers off. I figured you'd know how to do all that. Plus, I just forgot about it until I started taking the heads off. And I thought, hey, maybe somebody else got the same problem I got. So I'm going to show you some tips all the way through this video. So make sure you watch it all the way through and watch to the end to see if I wasted my time even doing this. So the problem I had was I was just going along mowing, and all of a sudden it sounded like the rods was started knocking, and it died. And I I could start it up again. It started up for just a few seconds, go pop 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 pop. You hear the rod knocking. I thought, oh crap. Uh, the engine's ruined. It wouldn't stay started, so pushed it up to the house and let it cool off, and then come outside and figured, well, at least I need to take the heads off and see what the deal is. I researched it a little bit on Google, and one of the things that they were saying was that throttle plate on the carburetor, sometimes that little screw comes loose and falls down on top of the cylinder head. No, you're right. So anyway, I you've got I think about five cylinder bolts here that need to come out. These were on pretty good. I had to get my breaker bar to get these off. This engine on this this Kohler engine on this Cub Cadet has never been messed with. I've For 19 years, I've had no problem out of this engine, and I don't know how many hours it's got. Several hundred hours on it. So this thing, most of the other parts of the mower have been worked on, but not the engine. So this is, I was really thinking the worst right here. So you can see I got the cylinder bolts out. The little rubber gas line right there, been on there 19 years, and you can tell when I start pulling it off here in a minute, it just literally just tears. I mean, it was just barely. I mean, it was paper thin. So I got the heads off. I'm fixing to pull this old gas line apart because it's just, like I said, I don't know if you can see it there on the video or not, but it's hanging by a thread now. As soon as I move the head, it just ripped. And so I'll get a new line right there and replace that. At this point, if you look over on the cylinder head, you can see a shiny spot right there, and that's part of the problem. One thing that confused me is, well, if I thrown a rod, it wouldn't even run for a few seconds. So I don't know why it would start up and run like 2 seconds or 3 seconds and die. So it just didn't seem, and you see there, I just pulled the hose off. I mean, we're pulling too. So uh, right now, I'm still looking for the culprit. To me, at this point, the heads don't look that bad. I've used seafoam in it before and tried to keep it clean. And right now, I'm fixing to show you what was on top of that head. That's that little screw from the accelerator gate on the carburetor. Went it all the way through the valve bodies onto the top of the head. That's what was making my rod knock. Now, at this point, I still don't know if I've got any serious damage or not, other than this, because they was really knocking. Well, it's hitting the cylinder head. I think here in a little bit, I'll show you the cylinder head, and you'll be able to see the the little mark on it. You can see here, everything looks all right. So I'm assuming that you can see, I'm assuming I'm okay at this point. But I'm not sure. So, One of the beautiful things about being single is when you need to work on something, you can bring it in the house, work on it without being griped at. Raining outside, and I really don't want to work on a lawnmower in the rain, so tray table, living room makes good work area. So what I was showing you yesterday, maybe you can see it better right there. See that little mark? That's where, and I don't have no carb cleaner to clean this off, or I would have cleaned it off where I got started. It needs cleaned off. I'm going to get some when I run into town and try to get a part. But anyway, see the mark right there? This is where this little screw, take this carburetor off. The carburetor has two gates on it. Has this front gate. And let's see if I can find a handy dandy pointer. Oh yeah, right here, you bet. I hope you're seeing this. You got this two screws in these gates. Well, you have one at the back too. And apparently this is a known problem with these Kohler carburetors. Of course, I've had this lawnmower for 19 years. I've never had this problem before. But when I went and researched it on Google, it was the first thing that popped up. But see that little screw right there? I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I thought I had a flashlight here. I must have took it and laid it someplace else. So you'll just have to trust me on that. I know, I just had the damn thing. Anyway, screw come out of there, went down through there, somehow made it through the valves onto the top of the piston, and pop. That little piece of metal I showed you right there. So, and then when I was trying to get the linkage off, I actually broke this piece right here. So hopefully I can get this piece and that little screw and get this thing back together and it'll run. So, but yeah, and the symptom was, first the rod just started knocking, or I thought it was a rod, and it died. And it would start up for a split second and die again. During that split second of running, the rod, or there would be a knocking sound. I thought it was a rod. I thought, oh gosh, I broke a rod. Then I thought, well, how's it running if the rod's broke? And so anyway, I came home and looked it up real quick on Google, and like I said, that was one of the first things I saw, was somebody saying they had the same problem, and another person saying those little screws on those gates will vibrate loose and get into the top of the cylinder head. Wow. So if I can find that, I am going to put some Loctite on it. So clean it up and then put Loctite. So anyway, that's the state of that. And then I'll clean this nasty thing up. Literally have not messed with the carburetor or the engine in 19 years on this mower. Just about everything else, this engine has been a trooper. And I've pulled things probably shouldn't have been pulling with it. Mowed countless. When I lived in Texas, I had 5 acres to mow. I got 1.5 acres here. The other place, you know, I had 3/4 acre. So it has been a trooper, and this is the first issue I've had with this Kohler 16 horsepower. And it seems like all the newer mowers now have bigger engines, in which I wish this had more horsepower, but if I can get it running, last maybe another 2 years, I'd be happy. So, get off here, run to town, see if the parts guy is open, see if I can get some parts here. Okay, so now I'm take this outside. It's obviously the next day. Got me some carb cleaner, cleaning things up a little bit. There again, if you look at the cylinder, bottom of that cylinder head, you'll see that little mark, and that's about all the damage I can see that little screw made. One tip you want to do is, and I didn't do it, but it will make things a lot easier. Go ahead and pull the spark plug. You can see it's there, and there again. This, you know, for as old as this engine is, like I said, I run sea foam through it a couple times, carburetor cleaner, I think, every once in a while, throw something in the gas tank, and it's been doing really well up to this point. So this is the first issue I've had with the engine itself. So, but it is 19 years old. I bought it brand new, and so it is showing its age. But I'm just kind of cleaning some of the crud off right here, and looking over the parts, making sure what I've got is still good. Take special note on the bottom of the carburetor. Yours may just have a plug in it, a screw, and that's good. This is on mine has that little module that's like a flashback or explosion preventer thing. If I guess if it um, there's a spark or something in there, it supposedly keep it from catching fire. So if that wire is not connected back up when you go to reinstall it, to start it again, and you'll see me do it, have that that very problem. It won't start. So you have to make sure that you take care of that wire, and make sure you reconnect it. So here I'm just trying to get there was a little something under one of the valves, and I was trying to get it out, and I did. So took a little doings. I didn't want to uh, loosen the valves any. I want to keep them just like they were. Because that still at this point I don't know if I'm wasting my time or not. Total breakdown of this from when I started breaking it down till I got it back up, about 2.5 hours. Obviously, went from one afternoon and the next day um, working on it, but total time working on it 2.5 hours. So clean the heads off. You want to make sure you get the gasket off. Make sure you clean the gasket up before we go back with it. I got a little trash on the cylinder head earlier. I got it all off. And you can see right there, like I showed you before, on the top of that cylinder head where that screw hit. So at this point, I'm trying to get there we go, there, and it comes up nicely right there. So I guess I was just really checking everything over real good. Try to get just a little bit more of that carbon deposit off the head. It doesn't really matter. But I also figured if there's any trash or minute trash, it would come out. So I'll probably end up running some restore through this thing anyway. Like I said, it's old engine. It could use some more power. And and another tip you want to keep in mind, if you've never done this, probably should take some pictures before or as you're disassembling this. I forget a couple things here towards the end, and have to go right back and redo it. But here I'm going back with the head. This ain't too bad here. That gasket, you have to obviously make sure it's lined up on the cylinder head before you put your cylinder bolts in. But that's probably the most difficult part there. I didn't take the exhaust loose down below. I just, like I said, I wanted to minimize my time in case I'd actually run the engine. Another tip, see the gas line right there I'm messing with? Before you put the carburetor on, go ahead and connect it to the carburetor as well as to the gas line. I didn't, and I started to right there, and wait, I should have done it right there because it's a bear, especially I left it a little long. I had to cut it short, and it's still kind of bear, make that hard curve right there. So here I am going back with the cylinder bolts. I don't know what the torque foot-pounds are. I don't have a torque wrench, and these things, like I said, they were hard enough to get loose. I had to use a breaker bar. So I kind of, that's what I judge when I go back about how hard they were to get loose. Should be pretty good. And I've used that tactic for 40 years on most everything I work with. As far as I know, I've never had a problem with stuff. because I didn't get to the exact foot-pounds of torque or whatever. So I tighten these down where I think they're pretty good. I do this in a star pattern. I don't kind of like tighten lug nuts up. I tighten one down and go tighten another and go tighten another, and in that star pattern until I got them all down nice and tight. There again, also make sure when you put your push rods in that they're both under the caps of the valves, rockers. If you tighten these down and they're not, and I had this problem here, you'll probably never get it on there. So make sure before you tighten these cylinder head bolts down that your push rods are under the rocker arms, so where they're supposed to be. I clean those rods out also with the carb cleaner earlier before I took this off, and I took the cover off. I was cranking the engine. I see oil was coming, so I knew they was free, but hey, you got the stuff apart, you might as well clean it a little bit. So rain's coming this later to this day, and I was wanting to get everything back together. There again, see if I needed to go look for another lawnmower, see if I need to go look for another engine. That was my concern right there. So right here, I'm tightening the exhaust bolts. Don't forget that gasket. I forgot it. I had to take these back off and put the gasket back on. And I got it on, and we're scooting right along here. I'm more optimistic at this point that there was no serious damage done. But you never know until you crank it up and run it a little while. So getting it back together. Now, I didn't use no gasket sealer or nothing else. All the gaskets that are here seem to be okay. I don't jack with stuff to just be jacking with it. So here's that gas line I should have put on earlier. I take carburetor back off, put it back on. This little thing I'm putting on here is for the air cleaner assembly to go to. This actually goes on last. The plate that the air cleaner goes on, along with the choke and throttle linkages, goes on first, and then this little piece goes on. But there again, I'm just trying to get this thing to see if it's going to start and run. So just bear with me. I'm getting the caps on here, getting her all tightened down. There again, don't have no idea what the torque specs are. Kind of just torque them back down to where they were roughly when I pulled them off. So, but I get all these on, and this again, good idea to take a picture if you're not used to doing this type of stuff before you start. I was going to do it and I forgot, and there was a couple of these I wasn't quite sure how I went back on, because there's two sizes here. This is, most of these were 10 and 8 millimeters. In fact, I think everything was 10 and 8 millimeters except for
Okay, we got everything back together.
Fix to see if we can get her started.
Head bolts.
Something's not right. She's not starting. I had broke the linkage off the choke, and so that's why I'm manually having to work the choke now. And I'm trying to figure out, right there, I'm trying to figure out which linkage goes to the choke. Doesn't matter, because then I realized, oh, I broke it off. And there's that little wire I was telling you about earlier. You got to make sure it's plugged in. It goes to that module on the bottom of the carburetor bowl. And so I'll re-choke it here. Yes, I have to start it off the starter. If she turns over good hot battery. There goes my sockets. Oh yeah. Yeah, no more knocking. Yeah, baby. That's pretty much it. I just put the plate that the air filter goes on. Reconnect these linkages. Got one more wire down here below. I think that's some type of ground wire to connect. And that was it, folks. I've mowed now my acre and a half with it. I did lose the piece there for the linkage, but I fixed it. And so if you got a problem with your Kohler engine, you Cub Cadet, this may be it. Thank y'all for watching.